Hello, welcome back to the Education System Reboot channel. I'm hoping to do more of these, but this is my first installment of what I kind of call a metaphor for life. One of the things I'm a big fan of is analogies. I think when we can be given a story or an idea or a concept and it's kind of wrapped in an analogy, I don't know, I like to be able to apply that to other areas of my life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my first big analogy. It's something I've been thinking about for a while, and this would be entitled puzzles. So basically, here we go. So a puzzle, a metaphor for a successful life. So what I want to start with is the idea of when you get a puzzle, there is a picture on the box, okay? And that picture represents the vision, right, of how the puzzle will end up. Or for our life, if we apply that idea of having a vision for our life. So the first thing I would just say is, do you have a vision for your life, a picture on the box, okay? And again, I would just say that without a vision, your life is not going to be as fulfilling. A purpose. What are you meant to do? What are your strengths, your accomplishments? And so then the question is, and I don't know about you, but the process, right? How do you go about putting together a puzzle? Now, I'm going to kind of describe how I learned. There might be other ways, but I think the metaphor is the process, okay? So first of all, you've got to decide on the process, okay? Now, I was always taught that you need to separate the edge pieces from the non-edge pieces. That was how I started. I also would say sometimes while you're doing that, you would also simultaneously organize things maybe into colors, right? And so you could have, one area where you put the edge pieces, one area where the non-edge pieces, and then those other areas you could divide them into other colors. Anyway, but how is this a metaphor right there? So in real life, this can represent how your life is organized or not organized, right? You have to decide the process in your daily life. Is your process the best way, or is there a better way, right? Maybe you weren't taught to do the edge pieces, okay? Maybe you were just taught to just look and just start building the puzzle, okay? Well, to be blunt, that's, I think, how most of us treat our lives, I included. So the idea would be getting more strategic about the process in your life, right? Habits, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so then what do you do next? Well, you start putting together the edge pieces, right? So again, I assume if people do puzzles, that would be the next logical step. So if we're putting the edge pieces, that's the frame, okay? And this is where I'm going to go into our daily life, our successful life. So the framework would represent our daily habits and routines, right? And those routines and habits will ultimately shape the true outcome of our life, which i.e. would mean the puzzle is going to shape the ability to continue to build the puzzle. And I would say this, just as a side note, if our habits aren't strong, then it's going to be hard to build our puzzle, right? But again, as you build the frame or the edge pieces and create the outline, that becomes more solid. So your daily habits become more solid as you build the frame, right? And then what I want to point out is that's when I think the process begins to snowball or compound and get easier, right? So like I said, the analogy between the puzzle and our life. All right, so then what happens next? Okay, well, again, I would say that, as you're looking through the pieces that are left, you're looking for similar colors and images to build chunks of the puzzle, right? You're not magically going to find the next edge piece. You have to kind of have smaller visions, if you want to say that. Or another way to think of it is you could have, these are the steps, right, to accomplishing your vision. So it's important as you're trying to find the colors and stuff, you're constantly looking at the box though, right? In essence, you have your vision in mind, right? And so if you get something, look, all right, where's that color? Where does that fit in the framework of my life? And again, you start building areas of your life. The way I would say this to kind of use the analogy more for our personal life is your core values start to become more solidified, right? You have this vision, which is the picture. You've started the process of building the framework. You start adding some of the different images on the puzzle to basically start your core values. What are the things that are important to you, right? Now, sometimes what happens is not everything's tied together yet. You kind of have these moments where, oh, here's a part of the puzzle or the part of my life that I want to focus on. And then there's another area, and they're not really connected. But what tends to happen as you build the puzzle, right, or i.e. your life, you get a much clearer sense of who you are, what you represent, what your core values are, and basically how you're going to navigate life. And everything starts to come together, all right? And then basically at this point, the end of the puzzle is within sight, right? And so basically what this to me represents for a metaphor for a successful life is it represents your life beginning to resemble your vision, right? So the idea is you have this image in mind, but the image seems daunting, right? The idea of putting together a 1,000-piece puzzle, because I know people do this, that is daunting to me. But it becomes less daunting when you have a process, okay? So to conclude, I have this great quote that I love, and I always come back to it, and so I'm going to read it. A dream or vision written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dream/vision a reality. So bottom line is the next time you do a puzzle, or maybe you don't do puzzles, but maybe this would be a time to say, let's break out a puzzle. Let's try this, right? The physical act of going through and making a puzzle really represents your life. It represents a system that could help you achieve your goals. And so again, I hope this all makes sense. On another note, why don't you do a puzzle tonight or tomorrow or this weekend? The lost art of puzzles, right? I should just end with this. The catalyst for this was watching my daughter do puzzles and watching her able to do a puzzle quite easily. And it kept thinking, it's like, well, how did she do that? Well, I remember sitting down and talking through a small process. I tried to get her to think about the stuff I just explained. And I remember having this sense of pride. And then this light bulb went off. It's like, a puzzle is a perfect analogy for how we want to organize our life. So anyway, with that said, remember, consistent effort over time equals success.